What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. If you're listening to this on Spotify, then welcome back to the podcast. So in today's video, I wanted to talk to you guys about my honest experience when it comes to competing. Now, this is something that's obviously a lot more popular. It's actually probably not as popular as what it was when I did it. I feel like the kind of competing trend and hype is kind of dropped a little bit. More people are interested in things like high rocks now. However, I've never really done video just giving my thoughts of the experience I had with it and just talking about obviously some of the good things about it and maybe some of the things as well that I struggled with and just whether I'd recommend it to people. So hopefully this just gives you a little bit of an insight. So my competition was a long time ago now. I didn't compete. I think it was like 2019. When I did my competition, this was after I graduated from university. Now I competed in a fitness modeling competition called Pure Elite, which is probably not the biggest federation. It's still a pretty good federation. And it's something that I just decided that I wanted to do after university. I think I'd always been training. I'd always been in the gym, been in shape for quite a long time. And I decided I wanted to take things to the next level. And at the time it was trending quite a lot of people doing competitions. I thought, why not? I'll give it a go. And I decided that was probably the next thing for me to look at. When I think back now at the reasons why I did a competition, I probably think I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I don't think I've really had like a deep why in terms of a real driving factor behind it. I think it was just kind of the cool thing at the time. There's probably more superficial reasons for there as well. I kind of thought that by doing a competition, it would kind of help me grow a massive following on Instagram. I thought it would make me cooler, maybe more money, hope it would grow my business or, you know, get me more well recognized. I thought that by having this pro status in my bio would make me look cooler. Maybe I'd get like a supplement sponsor. Like everyone does is when you're a little bit younger, you kind of have these like thoughts and stuff that it's going to be this life-changing thing. I think that's why a lot of people do it, really. I suppose I was kind of maybe challenging a few insecurities as well. I was thinking like, oh, if I become this like pro at competing, everyone's going to take me more seriously, think I'm cooler. That's kind of how I think about this now when I look back. There was maybe a little bit of wrong reasoning for doing it, some right reasons as well. Obviously, it felt like I wanted to go and reach a new goal and try something different. So there was that aspect to it as well. I believe that you should step out your comfort zone. You should set big goals. So in terms of the actual prep itself, I want to run you through my experiences with that. Now, I think I prepped for about 14 weeks, maybe 12 weeks. I can't remember the exact time that I actually started the prep now. I believe it was probably around 14 weeks if I started around January time, as my competition was about April. So it was tough. Obviously, it was hard. It was a difficult prep. I had a coach at the time who helped me obviously go through that journey, who had also competed a lot of times himself, but it was still really hard. Like the diet was hard, it was restrictive. I'd cut previously, but not to this extent. Whether I was following the right approach, I wouldn't be able to say maybe yes or no. I've only done one competition, but I did feel like it was really strict and probably a little bit extreme if I'm kind of basing this off the kind of cuts that I've done recently, as to where I wasn't following such a strict approach. You know, I was having like beef protein, I was having like gluten-free products and all these different kind of things, which just made it quite difficult. I didn't have any lactose, no gluten, extremely clean diet, like really rigid, really regimented. And it was a hard prep. It was really tough. I found it challenging. It was very rewarding at the same time, but I also did think it was something that was just very extreme in terms of the lifestyle that I was living. It caused me to damage a few of my friendships. It caused me to struggle in terms of relationships. I didn't have a relationship at the time, but I certainly wasn't going to meet anyone on that prep unless it was someone who was also doing a prep. So it was very difficult. I felt very tired. It was very taxing. Like when I was, at the time, I was personal training, and to be honest, my business wasn't really that big. I didn't actually have that much money, as I'd just been fired from my previous job, which is a whole new story. When I was at my previous job working at David Lloyd, I then got a new job and I was working at Pure Gym, building up my client base all over again from scratch, which actually was like another stressor along with the competing, which is probably what made it even more challenging as you were trying to build a new business. But it still wasn't that serious. I wasn't that serious at the time. I wasn't really like as kind of passionate as now I am about business and wanting to grow and wanting to really reach full potential in terms of, you know, my personal development. It was more just this kind of like cool thing. And, you know, for me, the personal training aspect wasn't as important at that point. But at the same time, it was tough. It was challenging. I found the prep was really hard. I wouldn't change it because I felt like it helped me understand what an extreme approach is like and helped me really push my body to the limits. But anyone that says to you that competing is easy and it's not hard is lying to you. If you really push yourself to that level of body fat and you're training as much as I was training and you're doing the amount of, you know, cardio and steps and everything, it is really hard. I even remember like going to one of my best friend's birthday parties. We went on like a night out, and I never been on a night out and just been so like depressed and like sad and not enjoying the night. I literally was like clock watching, thinking I can't wait to go home. I wasn't drinking. I was like, I can't wait to go home and just eat a bowl of oats. And that's like my thought process at the time. That's kind of like how sad my life was at that point, which when you think back now is, yeah, it's like pretty depressing. But that's kind of the level of extremity that you go to when you compete. So it was tough. It was hard. It was challenging. Even though it was hard, I actually felt really good at the time because it gave me a sense of purpose. I was pursuing a goal and it really gave me something that I could post on my social media and get this like validation from other people, you know, showing my prep, showing my level of body fat and how shredded I was. And again, it's so wrong at the time. And this is kind of the world that we live in now, but that's what was making me, that was what was driving me. I was like, how can I get like another cool photo for my Instagram, another cool video? How can I get more likes on these posts? Because I was just getting leaner. I feel like this is why a lot of people decide to compete, because it's about this kind of like show of like, you know, how cool can I look on social media and how can I come across with other people, which is just a terrible way to live your life. But anyway, this is what was driving me throughout the prep and giving me a real purpose, which when I think back now is completely wrong. So that was the prep. And then we actually move on to the show. I made it through the prep. I got there. It was hard. And yeah, I felt I looked good. I was definitely in the shape of my life at that point, and I had a physique that I was very proud of. I'm proud of the hard work that I put in. I certainly didn't do enough of the pose, and I absolutely hated that aspect of things. And I do probably regret not doing more of that, because, you know, that's a huge important thing when it comes to competing. If you're going to put yourself through that sort of prep, like, you need to make sure you put in the work outside of the gym as well and actually practice your posing. And I just hated it. I just felt like an idiot. I didn't do enough of it. But anyway, on to the actual show day. Now, I only competed in one category, which to be honest, I regret, because I feel like if I competed in more categories, I could have done better. Naturally, when you think about it, if I'd spent more money with that federation, they'd send me, you know, do more categories, put more money into their business, they probably would have placed me higher. Arguably, it also would have just been a bit more like satisfaction. You did, you know, one competition in one category on that kind of level, and just doing one show in general, nothing else in the future. It's kind of like this such a small time, you know, like it's like 2 minutes, right, for this entire prep. If I'd just done a little bit more and made a bit more out of it, it would have probably been a bit more worthwhile. But anyway, the day itself, it was good. Like, I had my friends there, I had my family there. I felt really proud of myself, and to have people there watching me and cheering me on, it was a really good experience. Very nerve-wracking, and I still remember now, I was really shitting myself before going out there and posing in front of all these people, and you've got these massive bright lights in your face. You can't even really see the crowd. You've just got these lights on you, and you know, you're just going out there and doing your thing. And yeah, it's an experience, and it really pushes you out your comfort zone. And I genuinely believe that, you know, you've got to do things that push you out your comfort zone. It's exactly the first time when I did a photo shoot as well. So all of our clients, you know, feel when they go and do a photo shoot, like shit, like this is kind of awkward at the start, but it massively pushes you out your comfort zone. It challenges you, helps you level up. So that was a cool part of it. The day was quite long. It was a bit boring, and overall, when I actually then got the results, I thought I was going to do better than I did. I think a lot of people had blown a lot of smoke my way, saying, "Oh, you looked amazing, Chris. You're going to win, or you're going to do really well." And I was a bit disappointed. I came fourth in my competition, and it was out of, you know, like 15 people. So obviously not a bad result, but like for me, I'm not the sort of person that takes that well. Like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to win. For me, as winners or losers, no matter where you can come second, you can come 15th. If you didn't win, you didn't win. And that's just the mentality that I've always had. So for me, I was disappointed. I felt like I should have done better. Didn't quite get my pro card. If you've got top 3, I would have got a pro card. But again, I mean, that doesn't mean jack shit, especially in that federation as well. Even less. I mean, pro cards and all that kind of stuff. It's not something that you need to worry about if you're competing, in my opinion, unless you're at the top level of competing. But anyway, it was a bit disappointing at the end of it. I did feel a little bit gutted. I felt like I was a little bit kind of, I don't know, a little bit ashamed, all this hype, and I didn't really get the result. It did put a bit of a downer on the day, and probably put a downer on my mood afterwards, which is kind of what led me on to what I'm about to talk about now, which was the aftermath. So this was probably the most challenging point of the entire prep. Like, things for me felt to absolute shit on the aftermath of this. Like, my eating went out of control, my training was shit, my socializing was awful, and this is what completely fucked me up the most, that completely put me off competing like forever. Like, I would never go back to competing again. Maybe I had a bad experience, and obviously I think a lot of the time when people do it for the first time, again, like, you know, you do get a bad experience, but it's definitely not something that I wouldn't go back to from that. And I had a couple of things that I think I do regret. Like, I left my coach at the end of the prep because I just didn't feel like I needed him anymore, which was a massive mistake because I didn't realize how important the reverse diet was. I didn't have any future goals. You know, I'd done my competition. I was a bit gutted. I didn't decide to go, oh, I'm going to do another competition, or I'm going to go and do a photo shoot. I was just left in the unknown. And that put me in a really challenging position because I had no real purpose anymore. You know, I didn't have Instagram to kind of put all my results on, put all my progress on, and get all this validation from other people. I didn't have that anymore. People didn't really care. They're like, you know, Chris isn't competing anymore. So it put me in quite a challenging headspace, which I struggled with. Then that's when like the floodgates open with food. Like, after that entire prep of completely depriving myself of anything, I had the worst like binges. I had all these like videos I used to watch, food porn before my competition. I used to decide what I was going to have, like, you know, after I'd competed, all this kind of stuff completely. But I mean, to be honest, I probably had a food disorder and wasn't ever, you know, diagnosed with one, but based off what I know, I can't have been that far off it because I was really struggling with eating. And that was a difficult point in my life. You know, I would literally get home after I'd finished work as a personal trainer at Pure Gym. I'd go and buy like, I don't know, a box of cereal, like a massive dessert for like 4 people and just eat it, and I'd still be hungry. But this is like not just mentally, this is what happens to your hormones, I believe, after you compete, because you end up producing so much ghrelin and hardly any leptin, which is basically the hormones that control your appetite, right? These are hormones that will basically tell you that you're hungry and tell you that you're full. And these hormones are so fucked after you've just competed and, you know, you've got such a low level of body fat. Your body's telling you to eat more and more and more and more. And we know that when we eat lots of carbs, we get addicted. We know what happens with insulin and with blood sugar. So when we keep feeding our body this food, we just keep eating and we can't stop. So some of it was mental, some of it was just physiological. And it put me in a really difficult position and I would just constantly eat. And I think in that time frame, in about 2 weeks, I gained about a stone, which is like crazy. And it didn't look that bad. Like most people look at me and think, you still look good. I still had abs, which is crazy to be honest. Very watery. I carried a lot of water, even my face. And one of my personal training clients was like, Chris, you've got a really like fat face. I was like, again, I took a lot of offense to that without obviously making that clear. And to be honest, it was a really dark period of my life. And that lasted for a long time. Like I remember going on holiday. I didn't feel good on holiday. I went to Ibiza and I just felt bloated and crap. And I was binging on holiday and it was just awful. So that was my life for quite a long time. And I really struggled to get over that period. Didn't really have, you know, again, I damaged my friendships. It struggled in a few areas. And I think the biggest thing that actually helped me was the lockdown. That's when I really got out of it because this was going all the way from 2019 all the way to the end of the year. And then, you know, I started the year better, but then the lockdown is what really flipped things back for me. I went home with my family. I was around my family for quite a long time. And that's when I got into online and launched my online. And I just got into a much better place. I wasn't binging anymore. I controlled my weight. I was training really, really well at home. And I got into good shape again. I was really happy with my physique and I managed to kind of get things back on track. But it was a really difficult period of my life. And that aftermath is what's really put me off competing. And also, you know, the advice I'd give to someone else that's potentially considering it as well and just what to be careful of. So the big question, would I compete again? Probably already know that from what I've just said and I wouldn't. And that's not just because I'm saying I had a bad experience. It just doesn't align with what I want to do anymore. I think unless you're going to compete at the top level, yes, maybe you can do it just to sort of see how you get on and just to get the experiences like I did. But it's a completely, in my opinion, worthless thing to pursue for a long period of your life. Unless you make it to the absolute top, you know, I'm talking Ryan Terry, Chris Bumstead, where you're getting paid all this money from sponsors and winning shows. It's just not worth it. The restrictions, the health consequences, and I don't want to pump loads of steroids in my body to go and get to that top level because let's be honest, you're not going to get far in bodybuilding unless you decide to go down the dark side. And I don't want to do that. You know, it's not something that aligns with what I want to do. So I've decided I'm not going to compete again. I also love running. I love hybrid. I love training. I love doing stuff like that. I prefer to do a high rocks. I prefer to go and do a marathon. That just aligns with me more. I find more satisfaction doing that than just going through this really hard, gritty prep, which doesn't align with the values that I've now got. It's not good for business because you're constantly tired all the time and you're grumpy. And if you're trying to grow a business, you're not going to do well if that's kind of your mood and that's how you feel a lot of the time. So no, it's not something that I see myself really ever probably doing ever again, if I'm honest. And just to summarize this video, to give my overall experiences and just to kind of help you understand maybe as to whether you're looking at doing a competition as well. Now, I'm not saying competing's shit. I'm not saying don't do it. I had a good experience. I don't regret competing at all. And I'm really glad I did it because it's something I boxed off and I believe I learned a lot from that experience. I'm just saying, firstly, do it for the right reasons. Like do it because there's actually a deep reason there, or you feel like it's gonna like benefit your career or like benefit your life, or, you know, try and find a bit of a deeper reason than just, oh, I want to look good on stage. I want a bigger Instagram following. I want to get a sponsor. It's just not going to see you get very far. I would also really strongly consider as to whether it's something you want to do consecutively. And I mean like constantly keep doing it. Like, you know, if you're doing it once, you know, maybe you're a coach that's listening to this and you're thinking, oh, actually, I would want to do it because I feel like it just gives you more experience. It gives you more relatability with clients, which it definitely does. 100% go and do a competition, go and do a season, see how you get on. I would question whether you do it year after year after year after year, because I feel like then you're just missing out on life. I feel like then you're potentially damaging your health. And I just don't see the longevity in competing unless you're going to take it to that top level. So that's something I would really consider. And the other thing that I will say is that it massively helped me realize the importance of reverse dieting. It's actually really helped me create a program at FitLab that I'm genuinely proud of and I know works, because having now gone through this period of binging and reverse dieting and completely fucking it up, I know how not to do this, and I know why it's so important to understand the full journey that goes into losing weight and staying in shape, which is why I created the Lean 365 program, which involves the reverse dieting. You know, we don't just work with clients to get them shredded. We know what happens when clients leave the program after they've just got shredded. We see them gaining weight back. We always warn them. We know that you need to spend time after to put the diet, put the calories back in place, and essentially go through what we call the diet after the diet, which is almost that reverse diet, which I completely messed up on. Had I got that bit right, still wouldn't have given me, you know, loads of satisfaction in terms of competing, but I certainly wouldn't have got into that horrible place post-show, which I really do feel was a difficult part of my life. So that's why, again, I feel like competing is good because it's helped me. It's helped me understand the consequences, helped me understand the importance, and it's really helped me become a lot more relatable to clients as well from going through that process and knowing what it's like to binge on food and knowing what it's like to, have an addiction to carbohydrates and processed and sugary foods. So hopefully you've taken massive value out of this video, guys. This is my experience. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. I don't think that everyone should really look at competing. I'm neither against or for competing. If you want to do it, give it a try. If you have, then make sure you smash the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe for future videos. Make sure you hit the bell notification as well for the next time that I post so you're notified, and I'll catch you in the next episode.